You're all my dear friends, and I've come to love you so much. And pardon me if I cry, because I just might, because this is a hard day for me. And yet it's a day that the Lord has given me. And so I just wanted to share how this all happened. 2 months ago, I had no idea I was moving. And as I look back on what has transpired maybe a little over a year ago, I can see how God was moving in my life. To begin with, you all know that my eldest daughter passed away last August. And I was her, even though she lived in her own condo in Federal Way, I was her caregiver at a distance, taking care of all her necessary needs on a daily basis as much as I could, and then driving down to Federal Way as needed. And we were not expecting her death. However, looking back now, I can see how in June, or maybe even earlier, April, I noticed a sharp decline in her health. And my daughter not only had a traumatic brain injury, but she was also bipolar. And added to the bipolar, she was diabetic. So she had multiple illnesses and multiple challenges for me, who I'm non-medical, and just to do what I could do to help her. Anyway, she had lithium poisoning. And the doctor had neglected to see that she was not monitored at 3 months to make sure her lithium level was normal, because it's toxic and it's irreversible. Well, she had doubled the lithium in her system when they tested her in June. And so I figured, understood now why she was falling, and not medically. She was very confused, and she just went downhill. And in August, the Lord just took her. We had no idea she was that serious. So anyway, that was the beginning, because now I was free to, I didn't have that obligation. And then it was just now my husband, Doug. Now, Doug has pulmonary fibrosis. He was diagnosed in 2016, and the doctor at that time said he had 3 to 5 years to live, and here it is, 2023. And I can see how now he's coughing, and he's failing. He doesn't have the ability to really physically exert himself to any degree. And then on top of that, he has macular degeneration, and he's really totally blind. He sees a little bit peripherally, shadows, and that's all he sees. And so I've been watching him fail and knowing that it had to be time, and we were also praying in the meantime. Of course, every day we'd pray and ask the Lord to lead and to guide us in our daily lives. One day at a time, every morning, we would ask him to guide and to help us obey in all circumstances. One of my favorite verses is Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths. And I stood firm on that one, trusting him. Well, then the time came in May where, let me backtrack. I have a daughter that lives in Lake Stevens in her family, and that's where my little great-granddaughter lives. There is a retired community about 5 minutes from her house that we had looked at 10 years ago and said, this is where we would like to be, because it's a smaller community, and they're duplexes, and we have one of the cottages. And it's independent living, but with the dining hall for 2 meals a day, which I love. No more cooking. Well, anyway, we went to visit again, even though we had been there once before, and liked it as much. And the lady told us anywhere from 6 months to 3 years is the waiting, and we said, well, that's good. We have time now to continue, because we had been purging somewhat, selling. We had our truck and camper, and we sold that, and sold other smaller things, and gave away. I started giving away just lots and lots of stuff to the families, and said, come on in and take whatever you want, and which they did to some degree. But then 10 days after we visited, it was a Saturday, June 17th, I got a call saying 12 people have turned down the available cottage, and you're next. So we said, we'll take it. We're not ready, but we'll be ready. It was just, I didn't even have to think. I just knew this was all God. Because when you pray and ask God for direction, He answers. And so the move started. And the first answer to prayer was Edwin saying, I have a truck. What can I do to help? And we had a partial fence that had been repaired, and the fencing needed to be hauled away, and there was just some miscellaneous wood. Doug was always saving this and that because it might be useful. At 86, he was very frugal and thought, well, this is good wood. So Edwin and Ruth's son, Michael, and her son-in-law, Weber, showed up the next morning, and they separated the wood and hauled all the wood, and the first major hurdle was gone because Doug was worried about that. But I also need to say that at the same time, Doug's a vet. He was in the Navy for 4 years, and the VA has, because he has a major illness because of his macular degeneration, it's called catastrophic illness. VA just goes all out to help. And they have helped Doug in his blindness. He has gone to blind school 4 times. And they have each time given him an upgrade computer that talks, and so forth and so on. Well, 4 years later, come June 26th, they said, you're here, you have to have a new computer. We won't fix your old computer, and so he had no computer. So he goes to blind school down in Lakewood. This whole time I'm moving. And it was such a blessing because he couldn't help me. He couldn't physically help me. Not only did he have the energy not to do it, or he didn't have energy to do it, nor did he have the sight to help me pack. So I was free then. I only had to take care of myself and to proceed to start packing. And then a neighbor said, let me put I was starting to put things out free. And she says, let me put this on buy nothing. So because we're moving from a 2,400 square foot house to 1,100 square foot house, you know how much stuff I had to get rid of. Ruth can attest to it. Ruth, by the way, has been so by my side, helping me when I can. She's busy with her granddaughters, and yet, even when she could spare an hour, she would come and help me pack, clean, whatever. And just, Ruth was my encouragement, my physical encouragement. But anyway, so God just provided everything I needed. When I needed something moved, my grandkids came down and said, what do you want? What do you need moved? And so Out it went, by nothing. And the tables just, I filled them up and they emptied, filled them up and they emptied. I cannot tell you the stuff that I got rid of because of God's provision. And now here today, I picked up Doug on Friday, so the cottage was all ready, so to speak, as much as possible. The first time in my life I've had a garage. Our house only has a carport, and so we still have a fair amount of boxes in there. But God's given me the strength. I'm 81 years old. Now, how can an 81-year-old woman move from a 2,400 square foot to an 1,100 square foot and still stand here today and feel rested? That is all God. So I just want to say my heart is breaking, and I thought I would cry, but I'm not gone. I want to participate in any way I can with ESL online. I don't want to leave Anthem. I don't know what that looks like. I've been too busy, too much still to do. I don't have internet yet, and that's another situation I have to deal with. But I just can't tell you how good God is when we really, really trust Him and say, it's not about me. It's about what is best and what you want, not what I want. I don't want to leave Anthem. I didn't want to leave Bellevue. But God said yes. And so as caring for my husband now, God comes first, my husband comes second, and then you're my family. You'll always be my family. I don't know how this is all going to work, but Lake Stevens is only like 38 miles away. So it's not impossible. So I'm not going to say goodbye. I'm just going to do what I can do to stay connected, because never in my life have or will I ever experience another Anthem Church that's full of love, allowed me to serve the way He has gifted me to serve. And I just can't tell you what this has meant to me for the last, year and a half. The words cannot describe it. This is such a unique, wonderful, blessed, good leadership, excellent leadership, loving, patient. Oh, ESL, he was so patient with me when I couldn't get it right. And yet, that gave me confidence. Okay, I can't get it right the first, second, or third time, but how about the fourth time? So, I guess that's enough said. And just, I'll see you around.
Love you, Judy. Thank you so much.